we go through the slides, we'll be talking about some resources, and we'd love to share those resources with you. So we will put the links in the comments section. So hello, my name is Emma Veltri, and I'm the assistant principal at Mays Middle School. This is my 26th year in education. I have a master's in leadership and administration, and I have two wonderful students, wonderful kids, college students. I have a college graduate and a student in college, and they have both gone through the Hollister School District. In fact, my children were students at Mays Middle School. And I'd like my colleagues to introduce themselves as well.
Hi, my name is Maylani Mailer. I'm the assistant principal at Lad Lane Elementary School. I have been in education for 20 years and I have a master's in education. I have 3 children of my own, 2 high school students and a 6th grader. And so I can definitely relate to distance learning.
Hi, and I'm Jennifer Miller. I'm the assistant principal at the Hollister Dual Language Academy in Gavilan Hills. I've been in education for over 25 years. I also have a master's degree in curriculum instruction and 2 teenage daughters who are the product of the Hollister School District. So I'm excited to be here tonight to share some tips with you. And we also have a special guest with us tonight, Superintendent Diego Ochoa.
Hey everyone, how are you? Diego Ochoa, Superintendent of the Hollister School District. I wanted to give a message to our parents and to our community members who are watching tonight. And I wanted to celebrate what this is all about, which is we have 3 administrators in our district, Mrs. Veltri, Mrs. Miller, and Mrs. Mailer, who basically took on this project and said, we want to do more for our community and we want to do more for our children. And so we want to reach out to parents and we want to educate parents. And I just want to publicly celebrate what the 3 of you are doing, because it's at the core of what our district is about, which is when we realize that something is needed, we put together a plan to make it happen. And we're going through an experience that is like nothing we've ever faced in our lifetimes. And when we come out on the other side of it, because I believe we're a couple of months away from having vaccinations take place and from having schools reopen, we're going to create a wonderful set of services for summer school. We're going to have an awesome summer school this year. When we reopen in August, we're going to have amazing social emotional supports for students. We're going to have top-notch teaching going on. So I'm just really optimistic about the future. And I feel like tonight's training is one step in that process to go from the last 10 months that have been scary and hard and stressful and overwhelming, and to start to see things change right in front of us. And I want to thank these 3 administrators for doing what they're doing tonight and encourage you to keep on doing what you're doing for our students. So with that, thank you all very much and have a great event tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Diego.
you, Mr. Ochoa. We appreciate that. We appreciate your support. And that is exactly why we're here. We're here to support our families. That is our purpose. And we know a lot of you have been doing distance learning for a while with your children. And so we just thought tonight would be a great opportunity for us to maybe share some more tricks that you need, because we know that you are your child's first teacher. So happy Teacher Appreciation to you. We appreciate everything that you're doing.
Thank you, Mrs. Veltri. We truly do appreciate all the parents and caregivers out there and all that you're doing for your children during distance learning. And we want to tonight, we want to know what your expectations are, what you hope to learn. We are going to open up the comment box for a short time for about a minute. And we'd like you to add any specific questions or topics that you'd like us to address. If we're not able to address them tonight, we definitely will keep them in mind for future workshops.
All right, so I'll go ahead and start a timer right now. And if people have questions, they can go ahead and put them in that box, and we will make sure that either we're addressing them or we can let you know when those items will be addressed.
Right. So what are your expectations for tonight? What do you hope to learn? Those are some things that maybe even what's working well for you, or what isn't working well, and what support you'd like.
And just as an added bonus, we do have Superintendent Ochoa with us. So if you have a question that you want to shoot over to the superintendent, this might be a good time to get his ear. All righty. Well, that's the end of our minute. And as we're going through the presentation, if you think of a question anytime during the presentation, you can go ahead and put it in the chat box, and then we'll bring it up right at the end of the presentation, and we'll address any of those needs. So as we're talking, something might come up to you. Go ahead and put it in there, and we'll answer that question when it comes in, or right afterwards. All right, so here's a little bit about what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about creating a learning environment at home for success. We're going to talk about setting goals and expectations for your child, how to establish routines, some different ways of how to celebrate with your child and what celebration should look like or is. And also, we're going to talk to you a little bit about returning to in-person school and what you can do to prepare for the possibility of us returning to school. So we hope that these strategies will help support you and your child with your school day at home.
And starting with the learning environment, thank you again, parents and caregivers. You've already set up learning environments in your home and made a comfortable place for your children to learn. And since it's a new year, we want a fresh start. So we thought we'd give you some suggestions on setting up a learning environment. Looking at shared spaces, setting up a station with simple household items, and tips for organizing. So many of us are in shared spaces. There could be 2 or 3 children in the same room or daycare, and we want to make sure that they all have their own privacy and learning stations. So a simple idea is to use a science board that you can find at the dollar store, and it's very affordable, and you can just set that up as a barrier. It provides privacy between the person in front of them or beside them, and it also keeps it quiet, the noise from coming in and out. Also, selecting maybe different corners or opposite corners in the room allows for space, and then eliminating sounds and distractions. So turning off TVs and any devices, making sure the students have their phones put away and out of sight, and just so they can focus. And another idea is using the headphones just to make sure they are only hearing their teacher and their peers, and it keeps them focused and on task. As far as desk setup, you want to create a comfortable workspace that allows for flexibility. So our students are not used to sitting for so many hours. So even making a quick stand-up desk, you could use a couple shoe boxes that you have around the house, or anything that would elevate the Chromebook, just to give them a chance to wiggle and move around. And we do that in the classroom often as educators. We give our students time to stand up and move and get their wiggles out. And having their supplies and being prepared. It's so important that they are prepared. And so you can get creative with items that you have at home. You can even use a tin can to make a pencil holder, a jar for pencils. It's just crucial that they are prepared and ready to go, that they have their books out or packets, pencils and paper readily available. And this should all be done before they log on. This makes sure they're prepared and they're not scrambling around last minute looking for any supplies. It just helps them be ready. And we have many supplies at the school site. So we have Chromebooks, be sure to charge those often. Again, we have the headphones that help students focus, and also a microphone. We have hotspots available upon request. And don't hesitate to reach out to your school if you need pencils, paper, art supplies. We want to make sure your children have what they need. And some sites also have backpacks that were donated by local businesses, and they're full of supplies that your child may use during distance learning. And we want your child to have those in their hands to be more prepared to learn. And now setting goals.
Thank you, Mrs. Mailer. So my module will be about setting goals, but before I do, I just love to tell you that I do appreciate the idea of the science board being so affordable and a great way to have privacy with if you have more than one child or even just one child, keeping them focused. What a great idea that you had there. And just a quick note that at Maze, we do have some headphones available. So, and I'm sure Rancho does as well. So at the middle school, we do have all of these items available as well, not just at the elementary. So here we are in a new year, new beginnings. What a perfect time to goal set. You've been doing distance learning for a while as parents and students, and maybe it's now time to like really get focused and think about what is working well and what can you improve upon. So I'll be talking about goals and specifically SMART goals and some items that you need, some suggestions that we have. So every family is different, and I want you to keep that in mind. And here are some things to consider of what your family might need. So really thinking about what memories do you want to make with your family? That could be something to give you ideas for goal setting. What is going well with distance learning? And what do you think you need to improve upon? That might be another idea for a goal that you'd like to set. And one last idea could be, well, what could you do as a family to improve? So this kind of sets it up for making a goal. So when you decide to make a goal, what you're doing is you're supporting your child to be successful. And that is what we all want as parents and as educators. And one of the ways we do create goals at the school site and in education are SMART goals. And I'm sure it's used beyond education, but it's just a great measurable way to create a goal. And it's the acronym SMART stands for specific. So make sure your goal is specific and not vague. So an example might be, I'd like to help my child become more independent. Well, that's a little vague. To be a little more specific, you could say, I'd like to help my child so that they can dress themselves within 2 months. So that might be something for the little guys. You want it measurable. It's something that can be measured. So an example, spend more one-on-one time with my child. And then to make it measurable, you can say, I'm going to dedicate 30 minutes every day to a one-on-one activity of my child's choice. That's definitely measurable. You want it actionable. So you want to start with a powerful action or a verb. So you might decide, I need to be more patient. Well, that's not very actionable, but you can say, I'm going to stop and I'm going to take 3 breaths whenever I feel myself losing my temper. And that's probably for every person in the family, not just students, not just kids. You would like it to be realistic. So, and this is probably the most important criteria for a family. We need to give ourselves a break, give ourselves some grace, because this is a difficult time for everybody. And we want these goals to be achievable. So an example is you might say, I'm only going to pack healthy lunches for my child. Well, a better way might be, I'm going to involve my child in choosing healthier options for their lunch. And you also want your goals to be time bound. So just a time frame that you can, that your goal will be completed in. So I'd like to help my child improve their reading. Well, a more time bound goal would be help my child to go up 2 reading levels this term. So again, focus on what you can do to support your child or your family to be successful. You'd like to use SMART goals. So in my family, I have a student in college online, a recent graduate at home, also working from home, my husband working from home, and myself sometimes working from home. So a family goal we'd like to make is take a family walk 2 times a week. So that's my specific goal. And we are going to walk for 10 minutes. That's going to be our first start. So that's measurable. We can definitely do that. Now, here's where I'm actionable and realistic. So I am going to buy or maybe create a calendar to post in the kitchen. That's something that's visible. I'm going to keep it visible so everyone can see. And I'm going to mark the days that we're going to walk. And the last thing, that realistic and time bound, I'm going to be flexible. I'm going to have makeup days because I know some days our schedules are just not going to coincide with walking. So, but we are going to, we're going to make it a goal to try to walk together twice a week, but some days it may not happen. So I will have makeup days. So I decided to create a calendar with walking on Mondays and Fridays. I thought those would be the best days for us to walk. And you can see, you know, that I would put a happy face if we walked, and if we didn't, you know, the reason why, and then a makeup day. So definitely that is something that is, it's visible, it's realistic, it's time bound. We can count how many times we've walked, and hopefully that will make us more successful. So wish me luck.
I love that goal, Mrs. Veltri. I need that goal too. And a matter of fact, I think I should steal it from you or something similar.
Yes, you've inspired me for sure. I need to do more walking. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Ms. Veltri, especially as a part of setting goals. Another suggestion we have is establishing routines, daily routines. And it could be as simple as a checklist that you create with your child the night before or that morning, so they know what tasks they have at hand for the day, and they feel accomplished to be able to check those off or cross them out. And feel free to add chores to that checklist. That'll help you out too. And then really chunking up the day. So if your child has a packet and they have a packet for the entire week, maybe you want to separate just 3 sheets for the day that they're working on, and that makes it more manageable and then less overwhelming for the students. Be sure to schedule breaks and chore time, creative activities, and fun time that is away from the screen. So they definitely need a break from the screen and time to do something fun or creative. And then I'd also like to share with you a few templates we got from understood.org. And the one getting ready for the school day I've used with my own child. So it's helpful just reminding them that it's still a typical school day, even though they're working from home. So they need to wake up and stretch. They need to get dressed and out of their PJs. They need to be sure to eat breakfast and brush their teeth. And then again, grabbing that learning packet before they sit down to log in. That will help them feel prepared and organized, and they will not miss out on any learning opportunities. Also, study hour routine to get into is checking their Google assignments, their Google Classroom assignments. So checking those assignments daily or weekly is very beneficial. And then taking movement breaks, making sure they're eating healthy snacks, and taking the time to call a classmate or a family member in between classes. It gives them an opportunity to socialize. So looking at Google Classroom assignments, again, recommended they're checked daily or weekly. If you put it off too long, it can seem a bit daunting, a lot of assignments. First, they're going to view their work, and they'll be able to see which assignments are missing and which assignments are maybe turned in, and even a score for those assignments. So if it is missing, there may be a couple reasons. They may need to still complete the assignment, or they may just forget to click the turn in button. So they may need to click the turn in button or add or create a document. On the right side of our screen here, you'll see they can add a file or a document and then submit the assignment. So this will all help your child be successful and hopefully meet their goals.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I love that you have that goal setting and tips on how to get into the Google Classroom, Mrs. Mailer. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to talk to parents today about success and celebrating successes. So first of all, let's talk about what success is, or just about success, because we know that we all want happy, successful kids, and every parent wants their child to experience success. And children want to be successful, and all kids can learn. And so we know this to be true. And there are 2 factors that will ensure this will happen. One is focus, and the other is self-belief. Now, You have never seen a time, as I have never seen a time, when focus is more challenging than it is now. When our students get on the computer, they have all kinds of distractions that can take their focus away. They can have tabs open, games on the side, and chat boxes going on, and text messages on their phone. And so with distance learning, focus becomes something that we really need to narrow in on and pay attention to. And self-belief, and that's that belief in them that they can achieve what you set for them to do. And when we talk about successes, we want to make sure that we celebrate with them for small wins, for healthy habits, and always for doing their best. So, one of the things we remember is that praise is a very powerful tool. And like Mrs. Veltri shared with us, creating a SMART goal is the first step in making sure that your child is successful. You create that SMART goal, and then you follow up with that praise. So let's give a scenario. For example, I have a child who is struggling with completing their work in the Google Classroom. So instead of saying, finish all your work in the Google Classroom, I'm going to create a SMART goal and use the advice of Mrs. Veltri. Maybe I'll say something like, you know what? Let's sit down and make a goal. How about this? Before dinner tonight, I want you to work for 10 solid minutes on your Google assignment without distraction. Now, notice what I've done that's part of Mrs. Veltri's SMART goal. I made it measurable. I said 10 minutes, okay? So I want to sustain that amount of concentration for a certain amount of time. I made it actionable. I said work. I don't want my child staring at the screen. I want them actually working when they're on there for 10 minutes. I made it realistic. I know my child is able to do this for 10 minutes and time bound, because I want this done before dinner tonight. So creating that SMART goal is the first step, but we want to make sure to follow it up with the right kind of praise if they meet that goal. So when I follow up with a praise and my child has met that goal, I want to make sure my praise is sincere. I want to be genuine, because if I'm not genuine, I just say good job. It doesn't mean as much, and it sometimes confuses kids. I want it to be specific. So I want to direct my praise at appreciating my child for doing exactly that task that they had set forth to do. And again, I want it to be realistic, which takes us back into the SMART goal is realistic. And what we're wanting our kids to do is realistic. And you want them to see that they were able to achieve those goals. So how do you praise once they have reached that level? How do you put that all together? Well, before we talk about that, did you know that kids think there are 4 things that lead to success? Either 1, it's inherent ability. She's just good at that. She gets A's in everything. Or 2, other people. My teacher doesn't like me. That's why I'm getting an F. Or 3, effort. I work really hard. That's why I get good grades. Or 4, lucky. It just happened that way. I don't know how. There are 4 reasons why kids think people are successful, but only one of those is the real reason. Can you figure out what that is?
Hard work and effort.
Of course, yes, we know it's effort, it's hard work, but we need to instill that in our kids so that they know that too. So being effective and impactful is one way we can do that with our praise. We focus on the effort, not just the achievement of the child. We want to clearly define the accomplishment and the learning being celebrated. We want to come with facts about their performance, and we want it to be clear, creative, and varied. And when I think about clear, creative, and varied, I think about times that maybe I got myself stuck in the good job, good job, good job mode, and I wasn't varying anything. Maybe you can relate to those times. And so making sure that you're very clear and creative, say it in different ways, make it various, or mix it up every once in a while to make it more interesting and capture your child's attention. You can see in this picture of the father praising his child, that is definitely happening here. You can see that he's connecting with the child. The child is very focused. He's being clear. I'm sure that whatever he's telling his child, it clearly defines the accomplishment. And you can see that the pride instilled in the child from having made or accomplished his goal is there on the face. This is what it looks like. And this is what it should feel like when you're doing praise correctly, or when you're praising students correctly, or your children. And now let's talk about celebrate, because we can praise them, but sometimes we also want to celebrate. And guess what? Praise is a sort of celebration. When we're celebrating with our kids, we want them to have that feeling of fulfillment that comes with success. We want them to feel the success. We also want to ask them so that it comes up and out of them. What do you think about what you did? Or how do you feel about what you did today? How did it feel that you worked for 10 straight minutes on your Google assignment and you got more than half of it done? Now notice that the student's going to feel proud, like, yes, I'm almost done. Did they finish the assignment? No, that wasn't the goal. The goal was to work for 10 straight minutes. And so make sure that they're feeling that pride in what they've done. If you've set a goal for them that's going to go over a large amount of time, like Mrs. Veltry's walking goal, you can put together a sticker chart, do a reward chart. Did you know that kids as early as 2 years old can use a sticker chart to learn? It's a very effective approach. Also, occasional gifts for big goals. You don't want to have to buy them a gift every single time they do something, but every once in a while, it does make it special. You can also plan days out, especially if we have another beautiful weekend like this last weekend. Trips to the beach, to the park, walks around the neighborhood can make a special way of celebrating with your child. You can celebrate with food. And when I say celebrate with food, I don't mean put a jar of cookies next to your child and give them a cookie every time they meet one of your goals. But you can do something special for dinner one night, or a dessert. Let them choose their favorite meal or one of their favorite dishes. Also, display your mother's pride. Moms and parents out there, dads too, you know what that looks like. Every once in a while, we have a parent that has a special dance, or maybe you have something you do that's different from everyone else. Go ahead and give them that little prideful dance that you do, and maybe they'll join in with you. You could also make it a family affair. Call grandma, grandpa, aunts, uncles, brothers, and sisters and tell them what happened and celebrate with them. But simple acknowledgments of all of their accomplishments are important. So you want to recognize them for everything they do, big and small. If you only recognize them for getting A's, then they don't get any recognition, and you're not going to build up on their ability to focus and their self-belief. So you want to recognize them along the way for all those accomplishments that they set forth and they're able to attain, and also remind them it's not about the winning, it's about the effort that you put into it, because you are building them into successful adults and you want to instill those characteristics in them. All right, well, we're going to take a shift in subjects right now, because we are talking about success, and now we're going to talk a little bit about preparing to return for in-person instruction. Are you ready? Well, when we think about preparing to return for in-person instruction in Hollister, we have a phrase that all administrators and everyone from the school says, and it comes from Superintendent Diego Ochoa himself. We don't know when we will return, but we're planning just in case. And so we are planning every step of it, and we're getting ourselves ready for it, and we want you to get ready for it too, although we don't exactly know when that's going to happen. We do want you to start having conversations with your children. Start getting them ready for what it's going to look like, and that if they are to come back to school this year, it'll be different than it was before. Let them know when you go to school, kids are probably going to be wearing masks. You might need to even bring your Chromebook with you to school every day. Let them know that recesses and lunches may look different. There could be smaller groups, they could be separated out. Let them know that while they're at school, they'll have to social distance. And when we get back to school, they may be going back in a hybrid mode. If we do come back to school in a hybrid mode, it means students will go to school some days, but not other days. So there will be times when they're learning at school and times that they're learning at home. And we don't want our kids to be disappointed that they don't get to come back every day, all day, which is what we truly want. But we know we're not ready for that to happen safely yet. And also let them know that the school district is doing everything they can to ensure their children are safe when they're here. Now, it's time for you to be prepared. As a parent, there are a few things that you can do to be prepared for the reopening of school. First of all, plan for days when your child will be learning from home. As I just mentioned, we may be on a hybrid model, and there could be days when you're at home, or times when you're at home and times when you're at school. So make sure you schedule that out so that you're prepared for that. Set up a Chromebook charger station for the evenings so that that Chromebook gets charged every single night and you're ready for the next day. Mrs. Mailer can tell you stories about times when people forgot to charge their Chromebook, and a matter of fact, with their own children. And so she always reminds us that that's one of the things that you need to make sure you're doing to be prepared. Also, be sure that your child has at least 2 masks. So I would recommend 2 masks. Of course, the school is prepared to have emergency extras if you need them, but you want your child to have them here at school in case one falls off or gets lost, they have another one. And then have a thermometer on hand, and or pay attention to symptoms at home, because if your child is feeling sick, we want them to stay home so that we can keep everyone healthy at school. And finally, have a backup plan in case your child is sent home to quarantine. Don't get caught off guard with this. Know what you're going to do, know what you're going to, where you're going to send them, or how you're going to handle that, so that you're completely prepared and ready for this new phase of coming back into school.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller. We're looking forward to it.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'd like to recap some of the things that we talked about tonight. We started with Mrs. Mailer talking about the learning environment and some easy things that you can do at home to create or enhance the environment that you already have. I think my favorite item, of course, was the partition with the science board. That's awesome. And I love the green beans can for the pens. that's what I have on my desk, is a can decorated for pens. And then I talked about goals and expectations, and we used the SMART goal model to create a specific, measurable, achievable, and relevant goal. And then thinking about you as a family, what would be best for you? So every family is different. So your goals there's going to be a wide range of goals that you would create. And then we went back to Mrs. Mailer, and she talked about establishing routines, and she talked about checklists. And one of the things she shared was that she had a checklist from understood.org, and that we put the link in the chat so that you can access it. But one other thing that she forgot to mention, she'd like me to mention right now, is that at Lad Lane School, in the box in the front, they will have and go ahead, Miss Mailer, can you say
Sure.
something?
Yes, so we wanted to provide the hands-on materials for you. So there will be a box labeled routines, and it has both, if you wanted both. And then also a little dry erase marker to just check off. You can hang this on the refrigerator. I hung it in my laundry room, wherever you want to hang it, so that they see it, and it's a reminder every day.
Thank you. So if you can't print it out, it is there for you, and that is available to our whole community. So it'll be there at Lad Lane School. So it's not just for Lad Lane parents, it's for all of our parents. And then we talked about celebrating successes, and I loved what Mrs. Miller had talked about, just acknowledging the simple successes in a family and making it fun, making it a family affair. That's extremely important. And then we talked about preparing to return for personal in-person instruction. And I think one of the major things that a takeaway from there would be making sure your Chromebook is charged. And if I can add to that, know where your charger is. We've had a lot of students that have can't find their chargers, and that's always a problem. So make sure you know where that is. Thanks.
Thank you, Mrs. Veltri. We
Mhm.
also wanted to invite you to fill out a Google form. We would like feedback on this session. We have a few more coming up, and we really want to make sure that we are meeting the needs of our families, and we want to make sure that if there's any future workshops that we do, that they're geared towards your needs. And so please take the time to fill it out.
It's in the comment section.
All right.
Okay, and so now we'll take a minute for questions. And Mrs. Veltri, it looks like we may have covered lots of ground, and I don't see any in there right now, but I know you probably do have questions. And if you do have a question, you can go right back to that survey that Mrs. Mailer just shared, and you can ask your questions there, and we would be more than happy to address those questions and answer them for you.
And we do
And-
ask you to please fill out the form, because we'd love to get your feedback.
Yes, absolutely. And should you have questions, more questions for us that don't go on the feedback form, you can also email them to us personally. You can get a hold of Mrs. Veltri at eveltri@hesd.org and Mrs. Mailer at mmailer@hesd.org. Or you can email me, Jennifer Miller, at jmiller@hesd.org, and we would be happy to answer your questions and help you out with any of these strategies. Also, special thanks and credit goes to Brandon Johnson, our lead Hollister School District's technology specialist extraordinaire, who helped put this together so that we could bring this information to you tonight in this platform. And we also want to thank Martha Granados. She is translating concurrently with us right now on a different end of the site, and we appreciate that because we want to bring this information to all families in our district. And also we would like to appreciate Superintendent Diego Ochoa for coming to the meeting tonight and supporting us with this very important project, or this very special project. And also you'll see a list of other resources that we use to bring this presentation to you tonight.
Yes, thank you to everyone. Thank you, Brandon and Marta, and thank you, Diego, for being here this evening with us and answering questions. And we just wanted to invite you to our next upcoming sessions. So we have our next session is on January 27th, and then we have one on February 3rd and February 10th. So please look out for those upcoming sessions.
And if I can add that those sessions will be presented by different people in our community. So we have our county office that is helping us. We have our social worker in our district that is also supporting us in this. We have a behavior specialist that's supporting us. So we really reached out in our community and tried to pull people in to support all of our families. And so the way you access it is the same way. You just go to parentu.hesd.org, and it will be available to you live, or you can also access it at a later time. And thank you again for joining us tonight. We really appreciate your time, and we hope that you were able to take one or two things here. Again, the links are in the chat. And then we can also put them, they should be down below, I believe, afterwards. So you will have access to them.
Yeah, Mrs. Veltri, I see right now one of the parents said she's not able to open the link. So I think we need to open that up for responses. So if you're not able to open it, try it again in a minute, and we'll go ahead and make it so that you can answer the questions.
Awesome. For the feedback form?
For the survey, yeah.
All right, wonderful. We'll change the permissions on that right now.
All right, thank you for joining us, everyone. We appreciate that you attended this and hope to see you again.